to our Scope interview. I go by the name of Denise Ngozi, and we're out here at SABC Radio Studio with Joseph Solomon. Hey Joe!
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
We are truly blessed and honored to have you. So, what initially drew you to poetry and songwriting?
Honestly, I've been writing songs and poems since I can remember. I literally remember writing. I can remember that song, the first song I ever wrote. I won't sing it, but I wrote it in my room with my other musically inclined friends when I was like, I had to be 5 or 6 years old. Performing them, I didn't start performing them till much later down the road, but I've always written, and it wasn't until I saw who are my good friends now, the people that were performing at Rhetoric, Jackie Hill Perry, Genetics, Ezekiel, Preston, Itohan. It wasn't until I saw them that I thought that you could perform something like that. I didn't know that was a thing for Christians. I'd seen some poetry stuff, then I saw these people perform, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. And so I started writing my own PA for performance, but I never performed them until 2012. Right around the same time I started up my YouTube channel. I performed in Houston, and people loved it, and I kept performing on open mics and stuff, and I just kept getting booked. I started getting booked for shows, or at least requested. I can't say booked because I wasn't getting paid, but I at least was getting requested to perform at different places around the city. And then I started putting those poems on YouTube, and it just started spreading. I had no strategy whatsoever how this would make it all the way to South Africa, but somehow it made it.
What are the common themes or topics that you write about, or mostly arise from?
Lately, in general, I think I write too much about love and breakups. I think that tends to be that, and just, crisis of faith. Musically, I've always written that way as well. And also, it's natural that my poems end up that way. I was forcing myself to be this very explicitly Christian poet all the time, and not realizing that that's not really my thing. Like, of course, I don't mind writing explicitly Christian poems. I have that, obviously, but I always wanted to write poems about anything, whatever I was going through, and typically love or breakups, kind of things that happened. That I would write about. And so more and more I've been trying to embrace that and find what world that exists in. And thankfully I've found an audience that appreciates that as well, to where now when I come to places like Johannesburg or Cape Town, and I do a set that's not at a church, I can do my set. 'Cause I don't feel like my set, you'll see it tonight, it fits in a church, parts of it does, and parts of it doesn't fit in a church. And so there is an audience that enjoys that they want to see that, they want to hear Make Me Believe, and they also want to hear Party for One. And those two songs can exist in the same world, in the same person.
How your gifts or your poetry and your songwriting have challenged you both in good and bad ways?
Yeah, well, good ways, I put out thoughts that I didn't know were in my brain. When I write it, I didn't know I felt a certain way until it got out on paper. It was like, wow, yeah, that's how it feels. Wow. And I become more self-aware through poetry. I think I help others become more self-aware through my poetry, emotionally intelligent through my poetry. Negatively, I've had ex-girlfriend not like my poem. I wasn't even mad when I wrote it. I had to kind of conjure up the feelings that I had when we broke up. But I just wanted to write this poem. She didn't take too kindly to it, especially when it got really popular online, the On a Scale poem.
Finally, so outside of your poetry and songwriting, how do you reflect being justified?
I think about that when I'm saying I'm justified. How is my faith actually growing legs and not just a brain that theorizes about stuff? I'm justified in that sense by how I care for my community.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for talking to us. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a great show.
Yes, thank you.
And that's it from Scope.